Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey, everyone. Duncan here with another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, where I get to hang out with founders and leaders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. And candidly, it is one of my favorite things to do. Today's conversation is about rethinking celebration. We've got an awesome guest returning to the show, Brooks Addington, CEO of TÖST Beverages, a brand that's taken something we all understand, raising a glass, and has made it more inclusive, more intentional, and honestly more interesting. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Firebelly. At Firebelly, we help food and beverage brands grow through three things: stories that connect, building familiarity so people choose your brand, and retail support or sales support that turns demand into real velocity. So if you're trying to win on the shelf, not just online, head to firebellymarketing.com. So today we've got Brooks Addington back. And I just want to say TÖST has carved out a real space in the alcohol-free world by doing something most brands miss. They didn't just remove alcohol, they re-engineered the experience. It's not sparkling water, it's not a compromise. It's a product designed for moments that matter. And while it may feel like TÖST is everywhere now, one of the things we're going to cover is that it's been a long journey. It's been a long, intentional build with Brooks at the helm, taking the product and positioning and growing it day by day. I mean, under Brooks's leadership, TÖST has grown from a niche idea into a premium design-forward brand, showing up in thousands of stores and becoming part of a broader cultural shift that all of us have been a part of. So we're going to get into category clarity and much more. Brooks, welcome back to the show, my man.
All right, Duncan, thanks for having me. It's great to be back. Great to see you.
Absolutely. Always love talking to you. And Laura Silverman from Zero Proof says hi. So I have to say that as we got started. Shout out
Awesome.
to Laura.
Yeah, she's one of the OGs. So, there's a few of us still lacking around in this space from pre-2020. She's been at it for a long time.
Yes, she has. And let me ask you this. From where I'm standing, it does feel like the NA space is just blowing up. But when you actually look closer, I feel like there's some chaos. There's different products, different use cases, different messaging. Where do you think what do you think people are thinking about NA today? And are they on point or are they off point?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, I think, we launched in 2017, and I know we'll cover that in a minute, where you were talking about O'Doul's and, some sparkling juices and the rest. There really wasn't any NA set. Now you have, and I don't know what the data is. A couple of years ago, it was 800 SKUs. It's probably over 1,000 different SKUs. Inevitably, in any new category that's showing success, you're going to have a lot of entrants. And so there's this period of chaos where everyone's coming in and what are you? Now, there's some things that are easy to define. Beer is beer. And, what they've done with technology in the last several years to make these NA beers taste great are phenomenal. Athletic came in, really made a move. Now everyone's coming into the game and trying to create their own products. I think that in particular is going to be very localized. Wine, same thing. You had some of the old guards, Ariel and Frey and the others that have been around for a long time. Now a lot of vineyards are feeling the pinch and they're saying, why don't we try to get into this game as well? So you have a massive proliferation. Then you have aperitifs, RTDs that we were sort of talking about earlier, sparkling. And I think that the challenge, certainly for TÖST, is, where do we fit into this great category? Are we a wine? We're not a beer. Are we an RTD? Are we a juice? No, we're not a juice. And then how did this all fray out? So let's go, and I know I'm sort of babbling around here, but if you go back 5 years, you were just starting to see the build of NA sets. And then now what's happening is the sets are being more curated and not clumped together and saying, okay, we're going to have our beer, we're going to have our spirits, we're going to have our wines, and then we have the mocktail. I don't like the word mocktail personally. It's mock, it's, what have you. We've talked about that, I think, before, either on or off your show. But, the RTD, the martini comparison, the margarita comparison, a lot of margaritas out there, number one drink in flavor, I think, with and without alcohol. So I think what we're seeing now is that definitive mix. And then I haven't even gone into the whole adaptogens and then THC. Do they belong in the NA space or not? Are they considered that, or are they what have you? So look, I don't think there's a direct answer yet. I do think we're seeing the retailers as expected. Everyone's going to have a set. They're going to define them. Beer remains to be a very strong driver of that. And what you're also seeing is that the beers and the wines are following the path of the Beyond Meats and the plant-based milks, which is, you put the plant-based dairy in dairy, you put the Beyond Meat and the plant-based meats in the meat section. But then where do you put all the other non-alcs, right? And so I think you're starting to see that, and people are approaching it differently and putting it all together, or still keeping it segmented out. So long story short is I think we are getting closer to a definitive space. And I also think, like in any set, and I know you're drinking coconut water right now. I mean, where's coconut water come from and gone to? And is it having a bit of a revival? I mean, there were 100 brand, there was one brand, and then there were 100, and then there were three. And now people are coming back into that hydration play because hydration's in. So we're going to see a lot of bloodletting in the NA space in the next couple of years, because you have so much proliferation that sort of anyone can do anything and everyone's trying stuff. Now, what happens when there's the second purchase? Who can survive? Who's going to stick around, and who's going to just close up shop and say, I can't compete, I can't make money?
I mean, I think you're exactly right, because even people that are deep in the space are like, what is that brand? I don't know that brand. And it
Right.
reminds me of craft beer in 2013. I remember the term skewmageddon. It's like basically there's so many damn SKUs, nobody can keep it all straight. And the points of differentiation are gray and blurred. And but I mean, coming back to what you've done and what Toast is that y'all are really, my sense is y'all are not selling a beverage. You're reshaping how people celebrate. I know that, at Firebelly, I used to go buy bottles of Prosecco for midday celebrations, and now I buy Toast. And it's because it tastes great. It doesn't feel like a compromise. And now people in our office are like, "Oh, is it a Toast moment?" And it's like, "Wow, okay, I know that we're super excited about Toast, but how are you feeling people are resonating with what you're doing?"
Well, I'm feeling like this is an untapped market we should be going after, Duncan, is the marketing agency midday celebrations. That's I got to get that to my team. Yeah, for us in the very, very beginning, the basis was that people wanted something that they could enjoy when they weren't drinking alcohol. The second for us was that we wanted to be as elevated and as meaningful, which is a word we like, and sophisticated, another word we use often, as an alcoholic beverage, but not having alcohol in it. And of course, we wanted it to be accessible and inclusive, and there's the inclusivity of everyone enjoying the party, but there's also a financial burden that exists. We wanted it to be an affordable product. But beyond those three things, we didn't want to be a mock something. We didn't want to have the letdown of, I really wanted this and I'm compromising. We wanted it to stand alone and people say, wow, this is just a really great tasting beverage. We continue to believe that. We continue to believe that the consumer, especially on the wine side, doesn't want to have a 75% Chardonnay, a 40% Pinot Grigio. Now, the wines are getting better. There's no doubt. Technology is getting better. The reds still remain, very difficult, but they just want something that it's about the occasion, not the flavor profile. What is it that you love about that glass of wine or that sparkling Prosecco in those moments? I love them when we celebrate, when we have a win in our company. I love it when I'm cooking dinner on a Tuesday night. I love it when I've had a martini at dinner on Friday and I'm going to play tennis the next day or go hiking or whatever it may be. And I don't want to have another drink and I'm going to have something, but I still want something. So for us, it was always about meeting the consumer at that moment and then providing them with a flavor profile that was excellent, that they felt good about, and that they could walk away from and feel fulfilled, beyond us trying to say, boy, doesn't this taste just as good as that $30 bottle of Prosecco that you bought last week? We didn't want to play that game.
Yeah. Yeah. And y'all are scaling up. You're now in over 9,000 stores, and that sounds amazing. I'm also curious, like actually where do things actually break when you're scaling like this?
Right. Well, I'm happy to say I think it's more like 14,000, which is pretty hard to believe, and impossible to count. I don't know how anyone ever really counts these perfectly. I think it might be more than that, but I don't want to promise things that's not. But we're launching this right now, this spring in Albertsons, Kroger, Target. Three huge wins. That's a big shift from New England natural, and we were born out of New England in the Northeast, and we've done very well in the natural. How do we go win in conventional? Now, conventional has changed a lot. Anyone in the industry knows that, and there's more organic and conventional and what have you. But it's a very different universe when you're focused on 70 stores at Fresh Time and 200, 2,100 at Kroger. How do you reach that? How do you reach that audience? So, we're rife with challenges. And I think like any brand, we're growing. We're excited about how we're growing. We've got great wins and high highs and some pretty low lows in terms of not doing as well. And you're sort of figuring that out. Is our messaging working everywhere? And is it the right messaging? And how do we do it affordably and all those things? So we continue to grow. I'll say just real quickly, what I'm most excited about for this year, I mean, I'm obviously very excited about those opportunities, is our on-prem play. And we're starting to see that really kick in. We're going live in 215 Hyatts. We've just been mandated in all of Omni, plus their Tiki program poolside, which is great for our cans. We are going to be a welcome drink in Fleming's and all Fleming's around the nation starting in midsummer. We do the same at Joey's. So we're starting to see that on-prem play, which is the classic old school sips to lips. They go to the bar, they go to the restaurant, they try their product, they go, wow, that's great. They walk in the grocery store. So for us, it's always been our motto, and our model, let's get people to try the product in places where they're having a good time and they're enjoying themselves and it's a positive experience. That'll lead to retail. So getting these pieces finally catching on the on-prem side for us, we really think is going to lead well into the retail challenges.
That's beautiful. And 14,000, that's amazing. But I think from the outside, this looks very fast for people. Like, wow, I was telling you in the pre-show, someone said to me, like, they did it overnight. And I'm like, no, they didn't. What's that real story look like? I know we've talked about it, but just in case there's someone listening for the first time, what's that real story look like?
Well, I like to look at the Honest Tea chart. The whoever founded Honest Tea wrote a great book, sort of half cartoon, half book. It's worth anyone in the industry should read. And you look at their sort of 10-year growth, and they're sort of trotting along, and they have these couple pikes and pops, and then they really popped. And I hopefully Toast is in that pop period, but we were, 2017, April 2017, 9 years ago this month, out the back of the car door, me picking up cases at the warehouse, driving back to Vermont and stopping in local places and saying, hey, you want a case? You want to give it a try? Launch in New England's very fortunate because there's so many independents and mom and pops. You can walk in the door and there's a good chance the decision maker's right there, and they'll go, yeah, hey, I'm down the street. Hey, I'm from the state. Hey, I'm the next state over. There's a camaraderie there. And they know there's stores. They go, you know what? I can sell this. And if I can't and I have to sell it on discount, I'll still be able to get my money back. So what the heck? Let's give it a try. So we're year 9. It has been a heck of a ride. The COVID years was like a shift to online for us, and, did a ton of gift business. People don't even talk about that, but when all the HR departments shut down, what did they do? They celebrated at home. They didn't want to send people alcohol. What do we send them? And Toast was there. It was really, we were very fortunate. So many iterations, a lot of different team members, have come and gone. We have a really, really good team right now. And it's not an easy ride, but we believed, and we just sort of organically grew over those years, and really feel like we're at this point now where we start here, and every person, I talk to people, I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. And I said, well, don't just see it, go buy it. It came with a purchase.
I mean, yes, exactly. I mean, and I think, as consumers, we have to also think about if we love something, we got to buy it, if for no other reason to make sure that it stays around the next time you want it,
Right.
right? So, I know Jay Williams from Freebird says that people are always asking him for free water, and he was like, expletive, 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 buy the damn water.
Funny you say about sticking around. There was a bar in Tokyo we used to go to that we loved, and there was no one ever in it. And a part of us loved the fact that no one was ever in it, but the other part knew that if other people didn't show up, it wasn't going to last very long. So it's one of those things like we have this great secret. We don't want anyone to know about it, but we don't tell everybody, and it's not going to be around anymore. So I hear that for sure.
Well, I think you've said at some point to me or somewhere else that toast is never alcohol. And why does that matter? And I guess, I'm thinking specifically about your comment, earlier about it isn't de-alcoholized. How do you say that word?
Yep. You got it.
It isn't de-alcoholized. It's made to be what it is, right? And can you say more about that?
Yeah. So I think, this was almost it was a year and a half creation. This went on from 2015 to late into 2016, or 2014 to 2016, trying to create the product. And there were something like 75 to 100 iterations back to forth. I mean, to the point where the flavorist was like, I don't, you guys are killing me. And we had Alfred Pertale, the Gotham Bar and Grill, as a Michelin star chef. We weren't focused on what we were putting in the beverage. It was what we were going to get out of it. It wasn't that we were like, we got to be a tea or we need white cranberry. It was that those ingredients gave what we needed. We needed sophistication, mouthfeel, depth, a soul. We needed a nose, a finish, all these things that give you that experience. And then, of course, we needed them to taste good. So we didn't feel that we wanted to take something, dealkalize it, try to make it better and say, well, you're sort of getting the same thing and it's good enough. Again, we go back to this. We said, we don't need to have alcohol in it. Let's create something that's uniquely special that has the attributes of alcohol, but doesn't have any alcohol in it. So teas, we're starting to see this proliferation of teas, sparkling teas and high-end teas. I mean, $30 bottles, $40 bottles, that are using that because tea has those tannins that are relatable to the alcoholic experience. White cranberry it's got stringency. It's unique. We've got floral extracts in our products and botanicals that provide flavor profiles or aromas to your nose, so you have that great experience. All those sophisticated, complicated things that go into a glass of wine. So that really can't be recreated. I mean, a wine can't be recreated in terms of its complexity. You can't recreate a Pinot Grigio with all of the nuances of how the grapes are grown on the side of a mountain and the rest of it. So we wanted to create something that was entirely separate and delicious, and that met that moment.
On the tip of NA in general, and we talked earlier about how everything is getting lumped into non-alcoholic, and the other question is, does THC even belong there? Whole deep conversation. But what kinds of differences should there or do you see across the categories that people are missing? And then the other question, I guess that's related, is do retailers who seem to know much less than bottle shops, do they really understand what's happening and even how to price it?
Well, those are two great questions. I mean, I think, to touch on the THC piece, I think that someone said to me, the toothpaste is out of the tube. It's going to be hard to stick that back in. Um, and the confusing thing for me in the THC thing, we don't need to go into this, but between hemp and between what's sold at a dispensary and what's sold under the hemp, farm bill, they're still selling hallucinogen, THC. How do you not regulate them the same? So something has to happen legally to do that. And I think that ultimately ends up in a, alcohol type regulated scenario that's not non-alc. It shouldn't be about the fact, and this is why I bring it up, that it's non-alcoholic, but it has something else, right? So I think I think that's what you're going to see over time, is that you're going to move away from this, what it's not, and move towards what it is, and I think that's really the key. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time and it takes definitive time. So here's a beverage with THC in it. Here are beverages that have adaptogens that provide some level of mood affecting, depending on who you are and your chemistry and what have you. And here are beverages that, this is a beer that doesn't have alcohol. This is a wine that doesn't have alcohol. Here are beverages that are non-alcohol. I guess non-alcoholic, but I keep going back to that. But here are beverages that taste great that are free of alcohol. I don't know if I'm really answering your question on that. So the bottle shops are curators. And the value of the bottle shop is to bring things that can't be brought by the big retailers. And so the challenge I think for them longer term is, how do I continue to add unique value versus Amazon.com? And it's the old adage of the local store versus the big store. Why do I go here? Well, part of it's convenience and part of it's curation. They do something that nobody else does. So they're gonna continue to want to find these unique beverages that don't have the wider distribution that makes it interesting for people to go discover. And there's some phenomenal beverages out there that exist and that will continue to be built. And I think there's more craft that's going to happen. Ben Branson, who's big name in NA, has got a whole new distilled beverage that doesn't have any alcohol in it. It starts without any alcohol in it. So we may get this sort of craft. You may think of a bottle shop as being sort of a craft beer shop down the road, where maybe it's not a Target, or maybe a couple of the brands are a Target. But the reason people are coming into the store is they want to see what's new and they want to see what's interesting. And so their job is to solely focus on that. The big retailer, they say, well, I run the alc department and I have this non-alc set and it's 1% of my revenue. And the rest of my department's 99% or 98%. It's still such a small sliver.
Yeah.
They're making a presence, but from a broad spectrum of things, it's still a tiny part of the business. Feels big to us, feels big to the people that are involved in it. But in the universe versus alcohol is not going away. And it'll take a decade to get that mindset from a professional that's been doing this for a long time to, yes, we're going to adopt it, but I'm still going to focus mainly on where my bread is buttered. And that's what the responsible thing to do is.
I mean, and just a little step to the side. I know kombucha is maybe contracting at the moment, but it's discouraging for me to see more kombucha, for example, at Fresh Time than NA beverages.
Right.
Anyway. So speaking of new formats, you all launched the 250 ml can. How's that been going? Is that format unlocking new occasions for you all?
Yes, exactly. It'll be, for example, at the Omni Tiki pool, this summer, which is great. So it really was, no one wants to bring glass on a boat, and you don't want to bring it to a picnic. And there are just these other opportunities. There's also this sort of afternoon opportunity that people want to just really enjoy something I want something, I don't want a beer, I don't want a sparkling water, which I drink a lot of, or whatever it may be. I want something that's a little bit elevated. So we wanted to open that up. Cans are where the cool kids play. There's obviously a Gen Z play there as well, that view cans differently. The bottles still remain, the vast majority of our revenue, and that experience, that celebration experience of bringing a bottle to dinner or opening up a bottle, is what is, uniquely Toast. We're not leaving that. But there are these moments that we are going after, and we're not going nationwide with these. We are in Target on that nationwide, which is great. That would be the outlier. For the most part, we're picking a couple of markets and just trying to go deep. New England, we've been around for a long time. It makes a lot of sense for us. Plus, there's a lot of shoreline, so lots of boats and lots of camping and what have you. But look, we have a lot of our customers just go, "I love your bottles." And then we've got other people go, "Oh, sweet. Oh my God, you're in cans now. I'm so excited." So we'll see what happens with it. We're not shifting away from who we are. I think we've talked about this before, but I always admire the San Pellegrino model. If people are sipping on a Toast Sangria out of a can and they're thinking about that large bottle. And that's the brand that they have in their mind, that beautiful big green bottle of Pellegrino when they're drinking a 16-ounce plastic Pellegrino that they bought at BJ's. You've done your job from a brand standpoint.
I mean, I think I mean, there's so much to be done too, right? So there's always something to be done. On a related note, your sangria or sangria, um, huge move. How's that going? And what are there new things happening with that?
Yeah, it's going really, really well, honestly. And what we haven't, I think the most exciting part of it is we haven't seen the other two products. We haven't seen overall sales per, SKU in a store decline. We've actually seen the uptick. And that's obviously always a concern. Is it just going to eat away at our other brands? I sort of mentioned earlier that the wines, the reds, haven't translated as well as the whites and the dealcoholized wine set. So I think there's been the retailers have been sort of quick to say that this tastes great. Let's bring it in because they want to have a really good red that they can offer. People love the color. It's a beautiful color. It's a great tasting beverage. It's a fun mixer, to be honest with you. But it's gone really, really well. And we're just getting started with it. Kroger actually took Sangria national. That was the one SKU they launched with. Didn't take our 9-year-old toast. They took our 9-month-old sangria, which I think sort of shares that messaging that there's a need for it in the marketplace and it fits. And of course, it's got the same base as toast, and similar marketing, and then the price point, at $8.99 on shelf is pretty attractive. So we're very excited about sangria.
That's awesome. It is. It is. I mean, I know we mentioned Laura Silverman earlier. She actually told me to tell you that that's her favorite. So,
Nice, nice.
so let's talk about AI and the brand experience, and specifically with the Toast Maker tool. That is super cool that you're helping people basically write toast. And it doesn't seem like the obvious move for a beverage company, but what's the thinking there, and how do you measure what it's doing?
Very hard to measure, for sure. And probably it's the Butterball 1-800 number. That probably a lot of people don't even know about. Maybe some of us older folk do. But is the idea of joining Toast with this moment and giving people a way out who are trying to figure out how to write a toast. And we launched it a year and a half ago, and I think it's getting stronger every day as people get more and more comfortable with AI. And so that's kind of fun and exciting. But look, AI is not going away. Where all of us in our businesses are trying to figure out how to implement it, how to use it effectively. I am of the camp that the world's not coming to an end, and that this is the cotton gin. This is the industrial revolution. We're going to create more productivity and more jobs, not less. Doesn't mean there won't be some bumps in the road. So we view it as just a really fun way to give people a starting point. I mean, I've started to use AI in my writing, pretty specific on how we communicate at this company, but it can sometimes get the juices going. Hey, this is the idea, give me a framework, and then you can come in and clean it up. And that's the idea with this as well. So let's do something fun. Toast is a great 4-letter word, has a great meaning behind it. It's an international sign of hospitality. And so why not give people the first structure to try to create something, if they're at a loss of words.
Thanks. I appreciate that, and I agree with you. There's another company, Filmland Spirits, that has created a personality for their AI tool, and you can ask it anything about Filmland or recipes, and it's impertinent. And they keep a tab on what's being asked, and they use that with their analysis of sentiment and where the inquiry is going. And so I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Speaking of Gen Z, you've leaned heavily into Gen Z and into college audiences. How's that going, and how do you feel Toast is relevant in their lives?
They're drinking less. And I'll tell you, we did this last year. We leaned into it. Lots of interns, and went out to sororities and fraternities, and we get tons of inquests now from different sororities because they're all celebrating sober. And first of all, they're not allowed to have alcohol at official events. And then on top of that, a lot of them are just drinking less. Now, maybe they're involved more in THC, or they're just much more aware of health and what alcohol can do to you and how it makes them feel. So I'm not saying they're not drinking anymore, and I'm not saying that the Gen Z are teetotalers. And there's a lot of articles back and forth on that, but they're moderating, and they're days they don't want to drink and they need something. So we were really excited about how well that program went. Are we expecting them to be our driver of revenue in the next 3 years? No, we do not. But we do want to build that long-term familiarity and excitement about the brand. And, I'll tell you a story. We were talking to someone we know here locally, and they said, our daughter came home for Thanksgiving with her boyfriend from Texas or wherever he was from. He's from out of state, wasn't going home. And he brought us a bottle of toast. And so there was a college kid who knew and identified and didn't know that they knew us, right? And hadn't made that. And they were just like, we were so surprised. So, this is a long-term investment into a community of individuals. Now, they're in college. I don't know. I mean, I didn't have any money in college, so I wasn't out there buying $9 bottles of anything, really, But I think that having them aware of the brand and excited about it and understanding what it is, is great. So, baby steps on that one.
Yeah, I think that's it's an elegant gift to bring a bottle of toast. I've done it when I was like, okay, I maybe the relationship is not clear and you don't know where they stand, and so it's like, hey, this is a surefire win, to bring a bottle of toast. And when you bring two or three, man, I gave a old college friend of mine. I didn't even know I never knew if he drank or didn't drink. And so I reunited with him after like 30 years, and I brought him all three bottles, and he was blown away. He goes, "Oh my God." So it does make it great. Now let's talk a little bit about leading with purpose. You've led before. What's different this time?
Well, it's a very different industry.
Yes.
Different industry, different era. I was at the tail end of people getting phones thrown at them in the 80s in finance, right? No one ever threw a phone at me, but I certainly had some bosses that weren't afraid to tell me how pathetic I was, or how bad my work was, or how full of it I was. So, I think it's a very different industry. Part of the attraction for me being in what we're doing is we're creating something, and the consumer facing is different, and every day is different. In finance, it's, you're just there trying to shed pennies. So the end result is quite different. But at the end of the day, what I think is really important is that people that you've hired are entrusting their lives, futures, professional futures, their time, in you and the business that you're running. And so you ultimately have a responsibility to those individuals. I feel a very inherent responsibility to those individuals where I'm honored that they've come and joined our company. And so how do I help them and give them something back beyond a monetary or shares in the company? Everyone in our company is a shareholder. Everyone has options. We believe very strongly in that they're working hard at a small startup. They should have success in the upside. All the companies I worked in, I've always had shares in. I believe very strongly in that. And then two, it's how do we help grow your career? And what I tell people who work here, and I believe this sincerely, when you leave this company, if it's 2 years or 3 years or 5 years or 10 years or whatever it may be, we want you to leave in a stronger position than you came in. Now, a part of doing that successfully is that if we are successful as a company, people go, wow, you ran sales at Toast, or wow, you ran marketing at Toast. That's amazing. You must be really great. Or if they go, oh, you ran that, what was the company name? I never heard of it before. So our collective success actually helps everyone professionally as they go down the road. So, work should be work. I mean, it's hard work. We want people who are dedicated, who want to work hard, but we want to empower them. And then lastly, I mean, we were talking a lot about this recently. and we talked about it earlier in this call, communication is just so critical. And I think something that we're constantly going back to everybody and saying it's so important, especially in a small company, not keep things in, share broadly, let people know, don't be afraid, allow people to have confidence that they can be honest with you, and honest with the people that work with it. So I don't know if that answers your question, but for us, for me as a leader, I do honestly feel grateful for the people that have committed to come work here, because this is a tough business, and there are going to be great days and there are going to be some bad days, and you never know what's going to happen. And so come on board, be a part of the family, and hopefully have some fun. And when you leave here, when I was growing up, and probably the same thing for you, but it was always, you leave it a little better than you found it. We believe that with the people that we hire. We want people to come out of here and not go, geez, I just wasted 3 years of my life. They come out and they go, wow, I'm ready for the next step. I've learned a lot. So.
Yeah. That's very, very well put. And I want to ask you now, lastly, what are you excited about? What's happening next? What's Brooks excited about?
Uh, well, wow, that's a big loaded question at Toast.
No, anything you pick. It could be, I'm going to hike 20 miles this weekend, or, I'm taking a vacation, or Toast, or all of the above.
Well, okay. On a personal note, I have one son graduating college, one daughter graduating high school, one son onto his senior year. It's a big year of 2 graduations in the next 4 weeks. I am just really excited for their adventures, and what they're going to be doing. My daughter's going to college in Tokyo. My son's going to go work in New York. My younger son is, probably going to end up in the South. So I'm really, really excited about that, from a personal standpoint. And professionally, we really feel like we're at this tipping point where I'm a big Malcolm McDowell fan. You get to that moment when everyone's saying, I see it everywhere, I see it everywhere, I see it everywhere. There's going to be this click where we're really gonna take off, to the next level. And so I'm excited about that. It comes with a lot of hard work, and you need some luck, inherent luck, but we believe in what we're doing. We got some cool stuff coming down the path, and it's getting more and more competitive. And Laura can tell you that. I mean, there are more and more brands that come out there, and what have you. But we have a good company here. We're 9 years in. Knock wood. We'll do another 9 and see what happens. And so I'm excited about that too. And I've signed up to go fly fishing in Mongolia in 2028.
Wow.
With a bunch of guys I grew up with, and it takes 2 years to plan ahead. I never do trips like this. So,
wow, that'll be a life changer. How long is that trip?
it's like 5 days of actual fishing. I mean, you're up in the middle of nowhere, but you got to book these things 2 years in advance. And this guy's he's always asking me, he's like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, I can't. This one came across, and I was like, 2028, all my kids will be out of the house. I can train for that physically, get myself in good position. I can save up some money. I'm like, dude, I'm in. So, that's out on the horizon. And then look, I live in Vermont, so I'm very excited for this summer.
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
getting tastes of, how that is in the Midwest.
Yes, I do. The Four Seasons. We wait and wait. I mean, I live in Indiana, so I guess weather everywhere is kind of just all over the place. But it was 38 degrees this morning. It was 80 a few days ago.
Yep, 100%. It was shorts and a t-shirt on Monday, and back with the winter long sleeve today.
I think the only thing that kind of discouraged me this year was that the freezing weather prevented our magnolia from flowering. It's like, man, that's a bummer. That's such a beautiful tree.
Yeah.
Brooks,
Yeah, we had ramps, our ramp season, wild onion, that grow up on the hillsides, just didn't really pop this year. I think it's a cold winter.
yeah, I know. Thank you as always, man, for joining and for, sharing so sincerely. I just love what you're doing and love what you're building, and that you are willing to share with everyone. Um, Thank you again.
Pleasure's mine, Duncan. It's always fun and fun to chat about, and I know we got more to do offline as well. So
Awesome.
appreciate it, man.
Well, what a thoughtful conversation, everyone, with Brooks Addington from Toast. What just stands out to me is the clarity. It's not about removing alcohol, but it's about redefining the moment for Toast. And it's a reminder that brands like Toast don't just appear, they're built over time, brick by brick, day by day, blood and sweat and tears, and a lot of intention and a clear point of view. And so, really appreciate you coming today, Brooks, and sharing the story. And everyone, look, let's support Toast. I, for one, am a huge advocate of Toast, and check it out, TOST, toastbeverages.com. Guaranteed great return on investment. So if you're one of those people that is thinking that, it's like you're guaranteed to be happy. And if you're a food or beverage brand trying to tell better stories, build familiarity, and drive some sales, Firebelly is here to help. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.